Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? I know you haven't heard from him from a long time, but you know who's with me.
What's up, peoples?
What's up, indeed, my boy Eric? Good to have you back, brother.
Back from the darkness.
Well, our schedules are really off, people, and
Yeah, it's
other
been
life things
nuts.
have come up, so it was really hard for us to get back together. Like even our D&D game took a break for a while.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be playing Curse of Strahd next week. And
Oh
so some of the
shit.
feature videos coming up is um
Speaking of Curse of Strahd, I have an issue with some of your top 10 bullshit, Joaquin.
what?
First of all, how is Temple Elemental Evil going to be all the way down at 6? Not even the top half.
It
And
made
number one should have been the Player's Handbook with the statue of Moloch on it.
no way. I'm talking
Yeah,
about this is my
way.
favorite stuff to look at to bring into
Dude,
whatever
how could you
edition.
not have looked at the cover of that player's handbook time and time again and be like, oh man, look at this. Oh, they killed some lizards down here. Oh, you flip over the book. Oh, there's more stuff going on the back cover.
Because the Fiend Folio is
And
a better cover, in my opinion.
yeah, you know what? I would say it's 1-2. Player's handbook, just that Moloch, the statue where they're stealing the eye and everything. But Fiend Folio, I did agree with that, man. That is a super close second.
It
That
is.
is an iconic, even more, I would say even more so than the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Monster Manual.
Yeah, it's just
That
yeah,
Fiend
because
Folio is an iconic piece of work.
and I mentioned that, I was like, look,
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to be like, player's handbook. Like these are things that I go to when I'm looking to influence my game. Now,
Mm-hmm.
or these are the two modules I always try to get my groups to play. And
Yeah.
unfortunately for you, my two other players have already played the
Temple.
Keep on the Borderland and they just got out of the Temple of Evil,
What?
and that
Them
took over like
bitches.
a year and a half or something crazy.
Yeesh.
So, and then the group fell apart on top of that.
How long have you been playing online?
I don't know, about 4 years probably now going
Holy
on.
shit.
3, 4 years like
Yeah,
that.
I didn't start playing anything online until COVID hit, and then my group we kind of finagled around. Martin ran some stuff online because it was easier for him because he's all computer savvy. I don't know shit. I'm lucky I could turn my computer on.
Oh, I hear-
But
uh,
yeah, dude, that's the first time I really started playing like online with people like that.
so another video that's when Eric and I get back together. Um, these are kind of like little short videos, but we're gonna be doing the Curse of Strahd, and I've been copying down. I've recorded all our games, but
Uh,
everybody's audio is like sometimes it's jacked up and there's a lot of
yeah, it's all
background and all,
wacky.
it's not worth like putting on there. But I do have all my notes, and I will go through and we'll go by session, Eric and I,
Yeah, you go through those notes.
and yeah, no, I gotta say I gotta pat myself on the back on especially like the opening for the Ravenloft when you guys are coming through the fog. I tailored made an opening for each individual character.
Mhm.
And I had the fog like or the voice or like Ravenloft speak to them. And it just kind of like helps set the tone. And
Yeah,
they when
yeah.
they walk.
Ravenloft is a very thematic module. I like it. That, and you know what it reminds me of? Maybe not so much as Ravenloft because the Ravenloft is a secluded um setting. Like
Yeah,
there's no outside influences. But Icewind Dale is really good like that because even
yeah.
though it's not as enclosed of a setting, you're still kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like there's not a lot of cities or villages around, or
Yeah, there's no place to go
Icewind
get
Dale's
help really
really good.
quick. Okay, so we've caught up people a little bit ish. They're like,
Ish,
um I came here to watch the video about multi-class and two classes. so,
right? You're
um,
like,
so Advanced Dungeons and Dragons reading and review of the First Player's Handbook, Part 8, multi-class and two-class. Wait, there's a difference?
what?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
So, all right, here we go. It's gonna be a short video, people. That we're gonna take a long time because we catch up. Alright, so the multi-class character. Take us away, Eric.
All right. The game assumes that only non or semi human characters can be multi-class, and only certain class combinations are possible, depending on the race of the character. Although these are listed in the section dealing with each race of character, multi-class character possibilities are also shown below in order to aid in selection of your character's class or multi-class. Cleric combinations with fighter types may use edged weapons. Cleric Fighter. This combination is strong in defensive and revitalization capabilities, plus the offensive missile and melee combat power of the fighter. That was a weird sentence. Hit points average will be good. Half elves and half orcs may be cleric fighters. Cleric Fighter Magic User. This one was a pain in the ass.
Yep.
One of the best multi-class options, yeah, definitely. This gives good offensive and defensive spell capability plus the fighter's melee combat strength. Half elves may be cleric fighter magic users. Cleric Ranger, see cleric fighter above. This combination is potent in outdoor situations as well. Half elves may be cleric rangers. Cleric magic user, this is one of my favorites. This combination gives the character a great variety and selection of spells, as well as the use of armor and more weapons. Hit points are somewhat better than those of a magic user class alone. Half elves may be cleric magic user. Cleric thief. This is a combination of classes which gives both defensive and stealth potential. Hit points are improved with regard to the thief class only. As with all thief class combinations, however, any functions as a thief are under the restrictions of that class with regard to armor, i.e., only leather armor and no shield. Half orcs may be cleric thieves. Cleric assassin. Seemingly strange, this combination is quite understandable when the race which can operate in these two classes at the same time is noted. The combination gives great potential in defensive and stealth situations and very powerful assassination attack capabilities. Hit points are good because of clerical hit dice. Half orcs may be clerical assassins. Fighter magic user. Obviously, this combination allows excellent armor protection with the use of weaponry and spells. Hit points are good on the average, 5.5 plus 2.5, 8 to 4 hit points per double class level. Not really all that good, but eh. Elves and half elves may be fighter magic users. Fighter illusionist. See fighter magic user above. Gnomes may be fighter illusionists. Fighter thief. By combining these two classes, the armor, weapons, and combat capabilities of the fighter with the stealth and other abilities of the thief, a very effective character is created. Even though thieving functions restrict the character to leather armor and no shield. Hit points are good. Dwarves, elves, gnomes, half elves, halflings, and half orcs may be fighter thieves. Fighter assassin. This combination gives excellent missile and melee combat ability, plus assassination and stealth potential. Hit points are good. Half orcs, maybe fighter assassins. Fighter magic user thief. Oh, remember those?
Yep.
Fighter magic user thief. Combat, spell, and stealth capabilities are given to the character who opts this multi-class combination. I'm sorry. This is a very powerful mix. Hit points are good, averaging 4. I don't know where they get that being good, but it was olden times. They didn't have the massive amounts of damage being done like we do nowadays.
Yep.
Yeah, hit points are good on the average. Elves and half elves may be fighter magic user thieves. Magic user thief. This was another one of my favorite. This
Yes.
combination does not offer all of the options open to a fighter magic user thief, but advancement is usually more rapid. Average hit points are fair, 3 per level. Elves and half elves may be magic user thieves. And illusionist thief, same as magic user thief, but add the gnomes because gnomes are illusionists.
So, any stories you have, either as yourself or as a DM? Do you remember of anybody playing any multi-class?
I like I said, I used to Kamash started to do well, that's getting into the dual classes stuff. I had different incarnations of my favorite character, but yeah, he was a cleric magic user at one point. I did have a half orc cleric assassin who worshipped it wasn't Grumsh. Who was the other one? Can't remember the other orcish god, like the orcish god of murder. He was in the do you remember when they were doing in second edition, they did the little handbooks? and it
or
had different like for different things, like the complete book of elves,
yeah,
the
I
complete
have all
fighters
those. I
book.
have the majority of them.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them too, but they did one for gods, and I can't remember what the name. Maybe it was a complete book of demi-humans,
Did
but
they?
they had all of them in there, and they had Mellifluor. Mellifluor was the god of liches, and I had a half-orc cleric assassin that worshipped him.
Yeah.
That's what it was. But yeah, I had so many characters. I can't really think of any particular one that stands out because most of my characters died pretty quickly. A character a week. That's all we ask.
Pretty much. I do remember a
It's a
fighter
halfling
magic
thing.
user half elf that I played who I called um I think it was like Moon Shadow or Shadow of the Moon was like the hero name or whatever, and then Elvish name.
Mhm.
But, um, I loved this character because I didn't wear heavy armor. I just wore like at
Yeah.
best I ever wore was like padded armor, so I could use like
Mhm.
swords and I could use magic as a backup and um backstabbing abilities. And I would we were playing in the city of Greyhawk, and every time that we had a little bit of downtime, I would go off and steal stuff. And one
Mhm.
time, my dungeon master just got sick of it because now I'm like mid level, and I got a potion of visibility backup. I have like
Uh,
dust of disappearance, and I'm trying to get a hold of a ring of visibility.
this
And
is not to interrupt your story, but this is the dungeon master's fault. You fucked up when you're giving a thief or anyone with thieving abilities invisibility and non-detection items. I made that mistake one time.
yeah, what happened?
Dude, I gave Martin a periapt or an amulet of non-detection,
Yes.
and somehow like it was a ring of there was an amulet of non-detection and a ring of mind shielding, and I didn't give them at the same time. It was through separate sessions, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, now they're gonna meet with my motherfucking mind flare, and then I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, man, I was so mad. I was like, damn it. But yeah, I learned my lesson on that.
Oh, he
If one of your the end of one of your chapters, the boss is a mind flayer, don't give him non-detection and mind shielding magic.
yeah, no, that's definitely the stuff you kind of want to avoid.
Yeah.
Um,
So and Martin the whole time he wouldn't say anything. It was like a few sessions later, and then finally it happened, and Martin was like, "Man, he's all you don't know how bad I wanted to tell you this shit." I was like, "But did you know?"
yeah, a lot of players like to do that with DMs, dude. Like
It's
the
pretty
DM will
funny. I
forget
mean, it was
something.
funny. That was my own fault. I should have known better, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but as a DM,
because I
you're like,
wrote all this shit. It wasn't like it was a module that I just, got to the end, like, oh, surprise. No, I put the fucking mind flayer in there and the treasure.
yeah, as a DM, you just forget a lot of things. So what
Yeah.
my DM did was he dropped a hint that um a mage had a ring of invisibility in his vault. And
Oh,
so I
shit.
convinced the group that we should
Fate
break
is
in
set.
there. And um, I'm like, think of all the other magical items. I was
The
like, if I
fate
just
is
get this
set.
ring, I go, think of all the cool things I could do for the group. And,
Joaquin.
and I was like, we gotta get this. I go, if I get the ring of invisibility, I'll forego on any of my turn for like a big treasure pick. And you know,
You're like, all I ever wanted was a
yeah,
ring of
I'm like a little
invisibility.
kid, which I was. And I was like, I just want
Oh,
this
that's so
ring.
funny, dude.
So we successfully break into the wizard's manor,
Oh, shit.
and or at least we thought we did.
Oh, the trap is sprung.
And so um we didn't know at the time, but this is like one of Mordecai's houses that he had.
Motherfucker.
That was kind of like on the down low, my DM. And so
It was like Mordenkainen's safe house.
well, yeah, one of them was, like, one of his little small safe
Man,
houses, and,
so you done fucked up,
we
right?
bypassed some of the minor security, but he already got alerted to our presence, and so,
Oh, shit.
just picture the first Ant-Man movie for those of you who saw that with, like, Michael Douglas, and he's and he's watching, God, I can't even think that actor's name right now. You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, not Bradley Cooper, the other one.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, I get Paul Rudd.
yeah, Paul Ruggs. So picture that with my group, I'm Paul Ruggs, and Mordecai's just watching the whole thing, how we're getting through all these little minor
Oh,
defenses
Jesus.
and these other things, taking notes.
Was he impressed?
Yes and no.
Oh.
We fought off some minor guardians. Like we didn't even make it to the main vault that we thought it was there, right? We just made it to
Mhm.
this minor, small little secret room that had somewhat treasure. And so we were helping ourselves there, and then all of a sudden the um the door just disappears on us. We're like, "What?"
What?
Yeah. And we hear this voice, and it's like Mordenkainen, and he's like, "Please help yourselves. You're gonna need these items for where I'm sending you next." And we're like, "Wait, what?"
You're like, "Wait, a big fat gate spell opens up."
And he was like he was like he sent us to God, I don't even wanna know where we went. We didn't go to, like, Baylor or any of the plains or the Abyss or nothing like that, but we did end up in one of the neutral plains. I wanna say, like, one of the realms where it's, like, the beast lands and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So he sent us there, and
Really?
we had to, retrieve a few items for him, and, our payment was we could keep the minor loot that we had. And that, I didn't even get my ring of invisibility, dude.
It wasn't there?
It wasn't there.
So you broke into Mordenkainen's house.
Yes.
He watched you run around. He said and then he made you his bitch and said, "Okay, you're gonna do all this shit."
Yeah, pretty much, man. Like, we didn't have a choice. Physically, there was no more door. And
Nice.
then, all of a sudden, a portal opens up,
Gate.
and, the DM tells you that you feel this sense of urgency to go through the door.
Before that
And,
room explodes.
well, it could have been illusion magic, it could have been something, but
Uh-huh.
we look up at the ceiling and they open up and all these spikes start coming down a little bit, like we're
Oh,
starting to see if we get
shit.
no, we just ran out through the portal, and to this day, I don't even remember what we even got. Maybe it's like some book or something else. All I know is all those resources that we got from him, we used that and the majority of the stuff that we had, and we barely got anything in return. I mean, yeah, we got XP
That's
and some
hilarious.
other
You learned a
magical items.
lesson.
Yeah,
You
it
got
was
a lesson in
crazy.
return.
And so, after that, when we got back, I had to go and give the thieves guide my due for not only what I stole, but
Oh,
on
shit.
top of that, the other items and everything else for value that we took from there. I go, "I didn't even steal that from Greyhawk." And the thieves guides were like, "We don't care."
I don't
Morden
care.
Caden said, "You had to pay us a due, and this is what you owe us."
Lesson learned.
That's
I
how I
doubt
ended
it,
that's how I
but
ended up joining the Thieves Guild in Greyhawk,
oh,
and,
shit.
they occasionally would send me out on another mission. It was just kinda like the DM's way of being like, "You know what I really want to play?" And he put out a different module, and then, we wouldn't even sometimes he would give us choices, and then other times he'd be like, "This is what we're playing," and then, we're kinda like sometimes we kinda look at him like, "Ah," and he'd be like, "No, you've been given this mission, you need to go there." Son of a
Oh,
bitch.
shit. Like, that's what you get.
I get yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be breaking into wizards' mansions.
An archmage, not just a wizard, but an archmage.
I didn't know, and I
One of
didn't
the
do my
premier
homework.
archmages of time.
I
I
know.
miss Greyhawk, man. I miss
So
Greyhawk so much.
So I was like, this was cool. And, you know, he afterwards he had a conversation with us and while he complimented the majority of my party, but did scold them for listening to me about breaking into his house. And then I went back over there to like talk to him because I'm also a mage. And
Mhm.
he no longer lived there and the people who were like he had like God, what like a epoxy, not epoxy, but he had another person living there. And that person was gone, like everything was gone.
Yeah, because
And
you 'cause you busted up his safe house, you had to move
yeah, so
everything
I knew
out.
about this place, and so, it just ended up just being some rich, this rich couple who sicked their dogs on me when I kept insisting that Mordecai was there.
Oh, shit. That's funny.
So,
What you
that's
get, Joaquin?
I mean, and that's how you should treat certain players who just go
That's where greed will
around.
get you.
Yeah, you just kinda like you don't do it all the time, like, sometimes you just let them rob houses of rich people
Yeah. Well,
and,
it's like the mimic,
yeah.
every once in a while, you let them get, I gotta be more creative with my mimics, so every time they see a chest, they're like, "We throw stuff at it, we do it." I'm like, "Oh god."
Well, always
I made
when they
them.
go, "We kick it," or "We hit it," I just always have the mimic not react to it because the
Yeah.
mimic's just being like, "Okay, I'm gonna
Yep, he's
eat you
just
later
waiting,
for
right?
this. I'm gonna eat
Yeah,
you
ever since
slow."
I ran an adventure where they went into a room and there was like a mimic, a rug of smothering, flying swords, and they were like, "Man?"
So that I love those type of death traps.
Yeah.
Alright, so that
Yeah,
was the
that
fun
was rough.
story. We know you miss those people. Alright, here we go. It's not as
Alright.
good as Titan Love Letter. That's gonna be hard to beat,
God
dude.
love letter.
That's gonna be so hard to beat. Alright, let's get on to it. We can wrap up this video. The characters with 2 classes, dual classing.
Yes. Alright, are we moving to another screen? Is
Oh,
that
yeah,
what we
you're
got?
right. Phew.
Yeah. I know, you're a little rusty. We're a little
Yeah, it
rusty.
is.
Ooh, I like that. What is that artwork from?
Um,
That looks like a 5th edition.
no, I think that's 3rd.
With the gnome kinda looks 3rd edition, but yeah, those elves are
Maybe.
definitely weird looking.
I'm always just looking for quick images to add to our video.
Yeah. Alright. On to the character with 2 classes, or dual classes as they'll later become known. Unlike multi-class characters who are non or semi-human race, the character with 2 classes must be human. To attain the second class, a character must switch his or her profession at some point. Thereafter, no progression in the original class is possible. So you better make sure you're done with fighter
Yep,
before you go on to become a cleric. In order to switch from one class to another, the character must have an ability score of 15 or more in the principal attribute or attributes abilities of the original class and a 17 or 18 in the principal attribute or attributes of the class changed to. Note that nearly any combination of classes is thus possible, i.e., cleric and fighter, cleric and paladin, cleric and ranger, etc. Alignment will preclude some combinations. When the character opts to cease his or her old profession and become a new class, the character retains the number of hit dice and the commensurate hit points due to a character of the level of his or her class. However, all of the functions of the character are at first level of experience, for that is his or her ability in the newly espoused class. Furthermore, if during the course of any adventure the character resorts to the use this I hated this shit, dude. I'm
yep.
sorry, man. Man, furthermore, if during the course of any adventure the character resorts to the use of any of the capabilities of functions of his or her former class, the character gains no experience for the adventure. Having switched classes, the character must perform strictly within the parameters of his or her new profession. Reversion to the former class negates all experience potential for the new class with respect to the course of recent activities, i.e., the adventure during which the original profession functions were resorted to.
So
Man.
before you finish that up,
Yeah.
before you go on to the next paragraph, I don't know any DM who enforced that.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Because you know what it prevented? Power gamers.
they tried to, but it was just one of those things where as a DM, you would you wouldn't you half the time you would forget, and most of the time you would just be like me and be like, "I ain't doing that." It's like, "What?
No, man,
That's
you
stupid."
had to do it because, like I said, that curbed the edge. That's the problem with fifth edition nowadays. You get away with too much shit. They allow way too much stuff to be going on. That's why characters, the progression of character power and the progression of NPC and monster power and capabilities are grossly out of whack, dude.
They
They're
really are.
they're extremely imbalanced, and that's the problem I have as a DM. You have these characters who by third level get all these massive abilities, and if they're tailor made and min maxed and all this other, they're just slaughtering shit at like twice their level. That's why most of my monsters, I fucking give them better armor. Half the time they have at least 50 more HP
Yep.
because it's otherwise they just wade through shit and it's not fun. At least it isn't for me, whether as a player or a DM, but it's not fun if you progress through the adventure with no sense of danger to your character.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're just a fucking lawnmower. And that I don't know, to me that's not fun.
I
That's
know.
one of the things I was telling you earlier. I was kind of with D&D right now. It's really at an imbalance.
It is. You gotta have a good DM. I'm not, I mean, I consider myself a good DM. Like, I'm really
Mhm.
good with, like, improving stuff, but,
Yeah,
you know
I've learned to do that with my group, trust me.
but, like, knowing the rules, man, whatever, man.
Yeah, rules now are a little bit harder for me. But that's mostly because I just forget shit.
Yeah,
Like I always have Martin sitting next to me when we play, and I'll have to ask him a couple things. I'm like, hey, what's this? Hey, what's that?
yeah.
Because my
No, I
short-term
do that,
memory
but
is
I
shit.
'cause I don't really care. I'm like, it's more important about the game and keeping the flow and trying to
Yeah,
challenge you
but
guys.
you'll get rules lawyers be like, it doesn't say that in the book. I'm like,
Yeah,
you know what? The book is a fucking guideline, like the pirate's code,
yep. I was like you're in my world, okay?
right? This is homebrew. I wrote the book.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things where I never have enforced that, I just thought it was wrong. Um, if you're telling me all of a sudden that you used to be a fighter or used to be
Mhm.
a thief and now you're a fighter, and then you go and your party is about to get slaughtered, but you can turn the tide with a backstab, that the fighter's not gonna get experience points for doing that?
Yeah, it's called the focus. Focus on
No,
your current
no,
profession.
no, no, no,
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
no. I haven't played that. I mean, you're the first person that I've run
Really?
into as a DM who would enforce
Yeah.
those rules.
Yeah, I was like, "You know what? No, that's like I said, it just it curbs the." And I mean, as a character, you make that decision. Do I sacrifice XP for the good of the many? Or do I say, "Ah, fuck off,
But
everybody
what's the
die, I'm
point of
out of
being a
here."
dual class if you can't use the other ability?
Because, well, if you once I read on, you'll know when you get there. I almost gave it away.
Yeah, here we go. So here's Eric's rebuttal in the form of rules. Proceed, Your
In
Honor.
the form of black and white text.
Yeah, proceed, counselor.
Uh, At such time as the character has attained a level of experience in his or her new class which exceeds the character's former class level, the following benefits are gained. Number one, a hit die appropriate to the new class is gained for each increase in level of experience up to the maximum normal for the class in question, and thereafter hit points are likewise gained. And number two, the character may mix functions freely and still gain experience, although restrictions regarding armor, shield, and or weapon apply with regard to operations in particular of one or both classes. For example, a character with ability scores of 15 strength, 17 intelligence, 12 wisdom, 10 dex, 16 constitution, and 7 charisma, the ultimate and perennial dump stat, is begun as a fighter. After attaining 6th level, the player wishes the character to a magic user, which he should have became a magic user to begin with a 17 intelligence. This allows the character to retain 6 10-sided hit dice, but in all other respects, he or she must be a first level magic user, wearing no armor, carrying those weapons usable only by his or her new class, and using spells to combat opponents. With 7th level of experience is gained, however, the character gets a four-sided hit die for additional hit points he or she can sustain at the new level. Furthermore, the character can now carry, but not wear, armor and weapons not normally usable by magic users. Oh, and resort to their use if need arises and not be penalized in respect to experience as a magic user, for he or she has already surpassed in the new class the disciplines of the former. Thus, no harm accrues to his or her experience as a magic user. Note that this does not allow spell use while armor clad, such as an elven fighter magic user is able to do. Yeah, that was the one shitty thing that even if you went through all that, there is literally no reason for you to become a fighter magic user dual class. There was none. Make an elf, be a fighter magic user.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's literally no, especially with stats that good. Man, I used to roll those kind of stats all the time. That was funny. You get characters like that. I've had players in my group. Well, I rolled two 18s and three 17s. Sure, you did over the course of 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay, so before I switch over, all right, so the wrap up.
Ooh, what do we got here?
Yep. Next video is going to cover alignment. So we got lawful good, and I think we're just going to keep that one by itself because that is going to be
Yeah,
a discussion because fifth
yeah. Ooh, I
edition
love alignment. A
has
lot of people don't
tried,
like it nowadays.
yeah, fifth edition has tried to get rid of alignment, and they'll probably do the same thing with six. And so you got lawful good, and I thought this was cool for using the Pirate of the Caribbean character where
Yeah, yeah,
Captain Jack Sparrow is chaotic neutral. I mean that's a good
yeah.
definition. And Will neutral good, the Commodore lawful good. I thought that was cool. But dual class, I
Dual classes were rough, man.
no, I well yeah they could be, but I started out and I have really high stats, and I had this idea that I started off as a monk. And as soon as I got to, 7th level, I switched over to a mage, and, we didn't play with that restriction, so I could be fighting using magic missile.
Man. Yeah, see? Power gamers.
Hell no, dude, I'm 8th level, I should be able to do stuff. It was cool, man.
You could
Because
if
I
you stayed a monk.
because I stopped at 7th level because after that, I didn't wanna have to start, fighting everybody and going all that
Have to
route.
hunt people down.
Yeah, and so it was cool because my armor class now dropped to 5, and then, by then I already had, like, braces and pants, but I got other bonuses. But now, if I run out of spells, I was attacking 3 attacks every 2 turns, but I did
Mhm,
3 to 9 open damage, and plus, like, having all these cool little monk abilities. The last ability I had was to heal myself, which is cool for a mage. I
mhm.
don't need you, Eric.
Yeah, I like Magic User Thieves, and I like when they did the current 5th edition, they had an actual subclass, so you didn't have to do that
Yeah,
with the Arcane Trickster.
right.
You
Okay,
know what?
so we kept this as a short video, people. That short for us is like 30 minutes.
Right?
So we're at 33. So we hope you enjoyed this video. Um, hold on a second. I gotta give a
Uh,
shout out to subscribers. Has been waiting to hear see our next video on this. Hold on, let me because he just commented on my
on your top 10?
yeah. Because you put Temple of Evil's number 6 shame, and then
Shame.
and then
Shame, I tell you.
so this guy, or girl, I'm assuming it's a guy, is JUZ4KIX at Just for
Just for
Kicks.
kicks.
Alright,
Yep.
so Just for Kicks, um, he's sounds like he's a little bit younger than us. Because that
Uh-huh.
term, Just for Kicks, wasn't that like in the 90s?
It's older than that.
The 80s? I don't let's the late
Dude,
80s.
yeah, just for kicks, that dude, that goes back way before our time.
Alright, just for kicks, leave your age in this video.
Uh,
You can settle this. But anyways, I wanna give you a shout out, dude. He's, usually on most of the videos, especially our player handbook. Um, he always leaves a comment and, honorable mention. Thank you, just for
honorable,
kicks.
yeah, honorable. When I was watching, I'm like honorable mention Joaquin,
I know, but you didn't
honorable
put that in
mention.
the comments. He had to.
Well, he already did it, so I didn't want to do it. So I just shamed you for Temple Elemental Evil on 6.
Go. So,
You know what? Oh, never
now
mind.
go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying that. I was like, what? No Dragonlance? I was like trying to come up with my list as you were doing. I was like, man, no Dragonlance.
Dude, you know how hard it was for me to get down to the top 10 with all the stuff I have that I like
I know,
reading
but a
and
lot
using
of it
as
was those early
references?
modules, man. You could have combined all those modules in the one pick.
That was A1, like the Scourge of the Slave Lords. I showed you
Hmm.
all the modules I had. The
But
Temple
then
of
you had the
Evil.
B1 and the. You know what? I was surprised I did not see against the Giants.
No, well, it is one of my favorites, but like if
I was
I have
very
a
surprised not to
choice,
see that.
if I have a choice to like for characters to play, it's always Temple of the Elemental Evil and it's always Keep on the Borderland.
And Queen of
Always.
Spiders, man. I know
Queen of
those three: Scourge of the Slave Lords, Queen of Spiders, and Temple Elemental Evil. Like when they packed all those together in those little booklets with the mat, those were amazing because they were basically the precursor to what fifth edition does now with their modules.
Yep. The only
These were
difference
just
is they started it
massive
out.
campaigns, I mean, the books weren't as big; they didn't have as many pages. But yeah, man, those books. Oh, if you had the Greyhawk box and those three modules, man, you were good for years.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah,
Alright, so, we gotta cut this off now because I don't wanna
yeah.
hear that our video
You
takes
know
a
who?
year. I can always see Minion's little face. Come on, wrap
Yeah,
it
he's
up.
getting he's getting fidgety over there, staring at me. He's like, "I'm gonna bark during your recording, sucker."
So, we're back to gonna be to a regular schedule, so next week, hopefully, depending on Eric's schedule, hopefully we'll be able to get alignment. And I'll
Yeah, I
be
should get
doing more
that.
videos per week on other D&D topics, on the
Mhm.
ones that Eric can't show up to. So with that, people, last words, Eric.
I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to alignment because I really like alignment, and I really like when players adhere to that alignment or try to. Because I know there's a lot of players. Oh, alignment don't mean shit. Blah 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 blah. It 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 gives you a direction for your character,
Yeah.
and that's created at the outset. So that's why I really like it.
All right, people. So alignment, and we're going to be discussing why the greatest role-playing game ever is trying to move away to one of the key factors to help people role play. All right, catch you guys later.
Later, guys.